I'm working my dynamic brakes to try to get this train to slow down early enough. I'm at 1780 AP points now. I'm still really worried I'm not going to get the full 1000 AP points that I need still. Alright folks, welcome back to Train Sim World, where we are playing U876-B, coal loading at Shaw Mine. So we've got a couple problems with this mission here, and we're just going to jump right into this because this mission here got a couple different issues. The one happens to be the engine itself. So if you thought that this train was properly set up and all you had to do was just turn on the lights and everything was all good, this actually is the train that you drove down into Shaw Mines. If I take the map, you can actually see yourself here in Shaw Mines. This is the train. However, the engine didn't get reset up like it did the previous time, so we're going to go back into the previous engine here, the trailing engine. We're going to reset up our trailing engine so it is officially a trail engine, and it's not a lot we have to do to make it so, but all we have to do is hop in the engine, and we do have to set up our lights. So we have our trailing lights, and we also just turn on our number lights here. And we are a short hood trail because our short hood is facing outwards over there. We make sure the distributed power is off. We make sure the radio is off. We don't need that radio at all. It likes to turn itself on magically. And everything else in here for the most part is good. What we do have to do is make sure that this handle is off. We have to make sure the independent brake is set to release. Over here on the air brake, we just want to make sure it says cut out and trail on both systems. We could just exit out of that, and we want to drop down to these buttons here. Make sure your engine run is off, make sure your gen fuel is off, make sure your control and fuel pump is off, and turn off the dynamic brakes just to have all four of those switched off. With that, we could just get out of this engine. It's officially now a trailing engine. So this is only one half of the problem, and I'm still in the process of trying to figure this out here as I am recording this. We're going to make sure our automatic handle is set to full service. Where are you, full service? There you go. And then we're actually going to go ahead and release that and let it do its thing, and we're going to put an independent brake to full application. Over here on the air brake, we're going to set the air brake to cut in, and we're going to set the lead into lead, so that way you have cut in and lead, and make sure you save this to save changes. That way it says cut in and lead for both options, and then click exit, and you should be good there. We are going to want our speed control. However, we don't want to use it yet, but I am going to set it up though. So for our speed control, we don't want a target speed of 5. That's going to create some interesting problems for us. So we want to turn our target speed down to 1.5. We're not going to turn slow speed control on yet. Over here, we're going to put the gen field on, the engine run and the control fuel pump and the dynamic brake are all turned on. We're just going to leave the heater not low cool, but low heat, because we're still in the same mission, so to speak, from November 1st of like the last episode. So nothing changed there. Otherwise, everything else is for the most part ready to go. I am going to turn, the radio is already on. I am going to turn on the distributed power. I don't know why I call it a DPU, but I did. And I'm going to put headlight control to set up on short hood lead, because our short hood is facing out. That's the one that's leading this train. And we're also going to click our number lights just to make sure those are properly turned on. Back in the engineer seat, we're going to turn the front headlights to bright, not dim, but bright, because this is actually a main line here. We don't have to worry about the backs because we got a whole bunch of cars. If you want to make sure your lights are on, you can double check that. Now, with the AP score, here's the issue. We got to get 2,350 AP score for a gold medal. However, the mission, if we use slow speed control, gives us 1,200. So that leaves us with 1,150 somehow to acquire by doing the under speed limit thing, going 30 AP per thing 38 times. We don't have time for that. So we're going to go ahead and do notch 1 here for a second. We are going to bail this off. We're actually going to drive this locomotive ourselves, and I believe this will do it for us. We're going to turn on our warning devices. One of the advantages, by the way, of the warning devices is if you turn on speed control, it will actually do it for you, which is really convenient. I do like that. My engine's already rolling. My goodness, look at this. I love that. So we're just going to kind of coast along roughly at 5 miles an hour. And once we get a little closer, I'm hoping what's going to happen is I'm going to get a free AP point score of 30 to start this ball rolling. If I can get that 30, that's 30 less I have to try to get for this mission. if I do this right, if I just drive it myself and do the coal myself, yikes. So we're gonna hope for the best. I'm hoping I can get some AP score just by doing this on my own without anything else. Maybe I'll get lucky and I'll start getting 30 AP score as I roll through the coal loading. I don't think it's going to do it for me because I think it's going to use the speed control. If that's the case, we got to find a way to get 38 of the 30 AP point score in order to get our gold medal, and that's going to be stupid if we have to go back and forth a few times to get that. But if that's the way to go, then that's the way to go. I know as soon as I go through that, I'm going to get 500 AP points, and this is where it starts to create some interesting problems. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn on slow speed control. There's our 1.5 miles an hour. It's already doing it for me. And it's got already my coal loading already up there. And what I figured out so far is when it loads coal, it does literally 4 AP points per set of coal, and there's 50 cars, meaning I can only get 200 AP points for that. We're gonna play around with this, and we're gonna see what we can do with it. So yeah, it's got this figured out. So speed control is on again, and I'm just gonna let this go ahead and do its thing through speed control, and then we're gonna figure out how to get our AP point score somehow in this mission without accidentally overdoing things. I'm only going 1.5 so I can get the most coal in every car. And one of the things that's happened to me already, let's blow the horn. I really don't need the horn, honestly, for this part, but you know how it goes, right? This is just what they want. Just because of this little garage right here, dude. Anyway, so you can see I got 99 pieces of coal in there, 99% pieces of coal. This is just going to take forever, honestly, to fill all this coal up. So we're just going to hang out in the front engine over here, and we're just going to watch this whole thing play out. I got to tell you, I looked this up because I was super curious, like, what is up with the Shaw mine? What is up with Rockwood mines and whatnot? A company called Consol Energy was the one that first introduced and incorporated as Consolidation Coal Company, but eventually was fully put together by 1864. Consol's history, essentially, to transport coal, there was many ways to try to figure this out. The coal was eventually moved by wagon, not train wagon, but wagons. And then they tried to do it by river boats, as you can see by the river right there. Then they tried to do it by railroad, hence our CSX right here. The company Consol originally collaborated with Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. The railroad actually was the one who bought stock in Consol Energy, rather than the other way around, and so eventually the offices ended up in Baltimore. Consol Energy faced issues in the 1800s due to the company employed miners going on strike. Who knew this would happen? The strike ended up happening for weeks, and order didn't get restored until the Maryland militia came into being and essentially stopped the strike from continuing. And the early 1900s also had issues with the company as well when it started expanding outside of Maryland and into Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and started to ship coal internationally to Japan of all places. And by 1906, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad sold all of its shares of Consol Energy to a Baltimore syndicate because of investigations by Interstate Commerce and the Interstate Commerce Commission. The Commerce Commission essentially looked at the relationship between coal-carrying railroads and the companies having mines on their line, so apparently having Baltimore and Ohio Railroad owning the mine too created some issues and problems. And so, regardless of that, Consol Energy continued to prosper throughout the 1900s. It expanded into Kentucky, continued to ship coal all over the world during World War I, and the company eventually became the largest commercial producer of bituminous, I can't say this, bituminous, maybe that's the way you say it, coal in the United States, and that was by 1925. The mergers and reorganization continued when the company eventually restructured its departments in 1927 to try to improve efficiency, and during the early 1930s and the Depression era, the company again had to reorganize and went into receivership after serious financial trouble. And due to the efforts of the company was able to come out of receivership in solid footing, and by 1934, the company's 70th anniversary, they owned 300,000 acres of land containing reserves of 1,800,000,000 tons of coal. By 1945, the end of the war, so to speak, the company merged with the Pittsburgh Coal Company and was renamed the Pittsburgh Consolidation Coal Company. By 1951, sufficient data became available to prove to Consul that it was economical to transport coal by pipeline. Now here we are doing rail and coal, and it still happens here. So kind of something to keep in mind, that rail and coal is still a thing, folks. By 1966, just 2 years after the company marked its centennial, or its 100-year anniversary, Consolidation Coal was acquired by the Continental Oil Company, also known as Conoco. In turn, Conoco was acquired by E.I. DuPont de Nemours and Company in 1981 because DuPont wanted to have better control of the supply chain, the chemical feedstocks of what was going into their chemicals in an era of high oil prices. For all we know, they're probably going to do this again because oil prices are back up again. Consolidation Coal was not a major factor in the Conoco acquisition and did not really fit into DuPont's strategy, especially after coal and oil prices declined. Therefore, it was sold off when DuPont was restructured a decade later. In 1991, a new holding company known as Consul Energy was incorporated as a joint venture of DuPont Energy Company and the German energy conglomerate Rhine. I can't say this for the folks that are watching from Germany. Please help me. Rheinische Westfälische Elektriktechnik AG. Maybe I'll put this on the screen for you guys. There's plenty of room on the screen right here for this. DuPont eventually sold most of its interests so that by 1998, Rheinbronn affiliates owned 94% of Consul Energy stock, while DuPont Energy only retained 5% remaining of Consul. Folks, if you thought passenger service was ridiculous, I personally think loading coal is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong, it's full on realism. I feel bad, honestly, for the people that happen to be coming off of this road here, that live in those houses there. They have to wait for this entire set of cars to roll on by at like 1.5 miles an hour. And worse than that, I'm sorry, it's just worse than that. So assuming these people came out of these houses here, rolled up on this road here, decided to drive down this road like this, I feel more bad for them because they're going to go by this road and they're going to be like, mother. So while this thing filling up coal, what we got to do with this engine here is we got to take this up to right about here. That's where we're parking the train. So it's not very far to get 38 instances of 30 AP. So we're gonna have to figure out what we can do. I'm gonna calculate the score once I get to the other end of the last coal car, which I'm actually sitting outside of right now. Once that last coal car rolls on through, we're gonna see how much AP we have, and then we're also gonna include our stop. And I don't know if it's going to give me anything for loading coal on the screen here, but it might. If it does, I'll be happy. I already know this is going to be 500 AP points there. So I know this is at least 1200 because I've got 500 plus 500 plus all of these coal cars are filling up 4 AP each. And this covers it. Somehow I got it. So yay. So that gave me 200 points, as I said earlier. And there's my 500. I'm only at 760. So yikes, right? 760, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's still 1260. So I got a few extra AP points. That's kind of cool. So now I have 1260, and that knocks off that, and I just got to deal with the 1100. So let's go ahead and turn off my speed control because I don't need it. We can turn off the bell at this point because now at this point we're just going to be rolling forward for 3.9 miles. And let's go ahead and go at throttle 3, and let's see what we can do to try to get as close as we can to 15 miles an hour, and let's see what we can get out of this. So with that, we are coming up on our wonderful exit there. I can see it there, just up ahead. So we're going to pop into the map just to make sure where we are there. This is where I'm worried about things. At this point, from where I am here and just looking at the map about how far we have to go, which isn't very far at all, I have to get about 880 more AP points. And it took me up until now to get 970. Which is kind of concerning. So what I might do is roll this train backwards a little ways, pick up some AP points. Right now we're at 970. We started off at 760. That wasn't very much AP points I collected just to get to here. That was only about 200 AP points. So just thinking about this, if I got 200 AP points from the coal loading all the way to here, that literally means I feel like I have to do this 4 times. I'm not doing it 4 times. We're not going to get over that thing. We're eventually just going to do this. I think 1 time might help. We're going to back out, go forward, and then kind of see what we get out of this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet you guys at the very bottom of the coal mine again. And I'm going to reverse off camera. You guys don't need to worry about that sort of thing. Alright folks, so we're back at the coal loading station. As you can tell, I'm slowly slowing my train down slightly. I'm going to roll this train all the way back to the very beginning, and then I'm going to go ahead and go forward. I got another 200 AP point score right there, so now I'm at 1180, which is good. And that means I'm going to get another 200 going in the other direction, so that'll be 1480 that I'll need by the time I get back up there. And we already know that we're going to get 500, and that actually includes the 500 at the end, so we might have to do this twice to get the full effect of it. Alright, I was a little worried to go around the corner. I didn't want to go around the corner there because if you look on the map there, right there, the rail line I think comes to an end, and as soon as that rail car goes back there, I think I'm out of the map, even though the red light is like somewhere over here someplace. By driving all the way back to the coal plant again, it looks like all I need is 610 AP points, and I think this is enough for me. Well, that's interesting. The alerter actually shuts off when I'm off. That's kind of cool. When I'm not moving, the alerter's completely off. That's amazing. Anyway, so I'm going to try to work with the 610 that I need, and I'm going to drive myself all the way back to where we originally met before I start going backwards, and we're just going to work up from there. Alright folks, finally we've made it back to the top of the junction, so to speak. You can see the roadway right over there. We're going to go ahead and close this window because it's kind of getting noisy out there. And there's railroad tracks up on top, so eventually we're going to start to see railroad tracks starting to merge up here in the junction. I'm at about 1400 AP, I'm sorry, 1480 AP, and I'm about to get 1510. So at 1510 minus the 500 for the last stop, we have about 340 AP that we need to collect between here and 2.8 miles away at Yoder's siding. So I think this may be the solution to getting the gold medal, as weird and as convoluted as that may sound. It looks like you just have to come all the way up here and then back all the way back down and then come all the way back up here. Screwing up your dinner schedule, and you have to call the family and say, hey, you're going to be late because these Train Sim World decided to kind of mess you up on your AP score, so to speak. Right, especially if you care about such things. We're going to go ahead and set our front headlights to bright auxiliary, and what that does there is it gives us a little daytime glow between the bottom lights over there versus what we had earlier. And those are the running lights we want to get onto the main line, the main branch line, which is where we are headed. So I'm holding throttle 3 and I'm going about 6.5 miles an hour. I don't know if I could just keep going at this rate because I'm at a 1.4% grade. And what I'm kind of hoping here is I'm going to connect up to this main line, and eventually this line's going to go from an uphill to a downhill. And if I'm really lucky, my train could just kind of start to use all of its coal cars to push me over. I might have to go to throttle 4 to make that happen, because once I get to the switch up there, that's where it's going to eventually do it. Alright, we finally got our 35 mile an hour zone, but as you can see, we got 20 miles an hour coming up pretty soon. We are at 1630. We're trying to aim for 1880 for AP points, because then at 1880, we know we've pretty much crossed the barrier to get over our 2350 AP. So we're making progress. We're doing pretty good so far. I don't know how we're going to do once we get to the stop over there, because it's only at 9,000 feet, so yikes, it's coming up pretty quick. So I'm working my dynamic brakes to try to get this train to slow down early enough. I'm at 1780 AP points now. I want to try to at least be under 20 for that under 20 zone there. And I'm still really worried I'm not going to get the full 1,000 AP points that I need still. I feel like I'm going to have to drive backwards to the switch and do the same thing again like I did with the first half. And if that's the case, then that's what I've got to do, and this is just how it's going to work, and it's the only way to make it work, then it's the only way to make it work. Alright folks, we're at good news here, 1810. We're almost there. My God, I just need 1880. We got a train waiting for us. I've taken so long to do this. This train wasn't here the last time I did this. It's all because of my AP point score that I'm trying to get here, that this train is stuck waiting for me. What's rough about this is I'm at 1840. We know the next AP point score I'm going to get is 30 more points, so that's going to be 1870. And I just need to get one more to get me over 1880, and then that's enough, and that will do it. And that should give me the scores I need, or at least as far as I know. Because if I do the math here on my little calculator that I've got handy and pulled out, minus 1880, that gives me 470 to work with, which is perfect for that last stop. And the stop is coming up pretty soon, so I need those 2 AP points immediately. Okay, I don't want to get screwed right now because the 50 mile an hour zone coming up, and I'm at 1870, and that would be stupid to get a stupid, like, overspeed issue. So I'm hoping I can slow myself down just enough to kind of coast into this. We just need that last 30. Come on, give me the last 30, and we've got this made. We did it. We got 1900. Yay, I'm so happy about this. 1900. So I think with 1900 plus the 500, that gets me 2400, and that should get me right over the number we're looking for. He's got himself a green light, but he's going on a red. What's up with that, buddy? You didn't wait for your signal, man. Okay, now I'm afraid I'm going to miss my stop. How exciting, but at least I'm at 1930, so yay, I think I got the gold medal finally. So this is good news, and I feel really good knowing that that has happened. All right, so we're at 1930, folks, and all we have to do is stop our last 100 feet, and this mission can come to a close. We'll see if we've got the wonderful score or not. We're going to have to find out shortly here. And I'm going to go ahead and do minimum reduction. And as usual, like and subscribe, and please do leave me comments, because this was actually a kind of a tricky one to figure out. I did not expect to get it in the way I did, but I guess it turned out okay by doing it this way. So let's go ahead and lock down our independent brake and put ourselves on full service. And that should do it. 2430. That should give me the gold medal right there. Yes, thank you very much. That's what I needed to do. Unfortunately, I had to go backwards. What the heck, man? All right, guys. So like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and we will see you in the next part of this cold loading mission setup here, where we got 4 missions back to back. Bye, guys. So one of the advantages, by the way, of being in a mission like this and being on the outside of the train is you don't have to hear this sound. The rain hitting the ceiling starts to get very loud and very annoying. So sometimes that helps, and if you have to, you can turn the game sound down and, you know, make your life a little bit easier, or else you're just gonna have to deal with the heck of rain sound on the top of your tin can here all the way till you get to the bottom of Cumberland grade, you know what I mean?